Hey guys, what's up? It's Finch here. Today we're going to be discussing the Sword and Shield OU usage stats for the latter half of November, and also just some chill discussion in general. Going to be one of those videos where you don't really need the background, so if you're doing homework, you're laddering, or doing anything else you normally do, definitely feel free to pay attention to that and just use my voice in the background. But if you want to look at the graphic, then voila, it's right there. Feel free to look at it. That's totally your call. But yeah, so a lot of changes in the usage as we see. Top 8 Pokemon all rising in usage, and then some other big names dropping just a little bit in usage. We're gonna get into some trend analysis. We're gonna get into what's good, what's not good, what might be seeing a bit too much usage. Hint, Landorus-T. What might not be seeing enough usage. Hint, 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 hint. Garchomp. And more. I mean, there's just a ton of stuff going on right now. So first off, I think it's really cool. Again, we're seeing a ton of offensive-oriented Pokemon in the top 10. Landorus-T, I mean, say what you want, intimidate and pivoting. It's still 145 base attack, and it keeps the momentum. It's not really enabling stall or both your teams. That's cool. Pheromosa is an offensive juggernaut right now. One of the most broken Pokemon in the tier, in my opinion. So seeing that at number 3 is dope. Urshifu, single, obviously a very offensive Pokemon, a potent fighting type, a physical attacker. At number 4 is good. We see Magearna, jack of all trades, master of perhaps none, but also still a very strong special attacker, sweeper, and whatnot. At number 6, Heatran at number 9 kind of goes both ways. I mean, you could say the same about Zapdos too, although offensive Zapdos hasn't caught on quite as much as like, but Heatran's still really solid. I quite like it. Magma Storm starts kind of trending more offensive. Even if they run more defensive EV spreads, they function as trappers in the metagame, and that goes a long way towards solidifying it as a more viable option in the metagame right now. My charger is not working. This is weird. Okay, it's working now. I'm so sorry about that. I tried to pause, but I couldn't quite reach it as I was reaching for the charger. So you're going to enjoy the little 10 seconds of me scrambling for my life on my computer because I'm a low battery. But anyway, yeah, Heatran's a pretty offensive Pokemon, all considered. And even in the more defensive sets, able to at least force status. And then also Spectre, obviously, one of the best special attackers, strong, fast, and whatnot in the metagame as well. So, I mean, look, that's already, 6 or 7 out of 10, depending on how you define Heatran and whatnot. On top of that, I mean, you look down, you get Finny, which is used more on both the offensive teams as either win condition with Calm Mind or utility, as it's able to really prevent status, and it doesn't have the durability to last on both your teams. You got, more directly offensive Pokemon like Cinderace, Melmetal, Rillaboom, Garchomp running at top 15. So, all in all, the metagame is pretty fast-paced right now. Probably, again, still one of the fast-paced, most hectic metagame states of the entire generation thus far, which I think is pretty friendly to the player base. I think it's definitely easy to get into and learn this metagame. I think there are a lot of fun things to use. I mean, personally, I love using almost all the Pokemon in the top 10 besides, Toxapex, because, Toxapex is obviously a seriously very good Pokemon, but it doesn't really, enable the same kind of like, I'm just going to click around and have fun type of play, which is lame, but I definitely think that Toxapex holds some good merit and some bad merit in the metagame, competitively speaking, but, I'm glad there are a lot of things to deter it right now. I mean, Magma from Heatran trapping it, Ferrothorn setting them all up over it, Misty Drain from Finny, Chomp and Landorus-T all over the place, and Chomp should be much higher than 15 in my eyes, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, sorry, I'm just thinking here. So things have been crazy lately for me. I'm just gonna go into a little tangent, I guess. Let's just go through an example day. Like, I got the viability rankings up earlier this week, right? You guys probably saw the video on it. If not, be sure to head over and check it out. A lot of detail on that, a lot of going through the metagame and whatnot, which is real dope and all. But man, it took a lot out of me. I mean, I finished at like 2:30, 3 in the morning, and then I gotta wake up at 7 for work. Then I'm working till 5. Yeah, I get an hour off for lunch from 12 to 1, which is dope. But then right after, I promised people that I'd like go through the thread and answer all the questions on the initial rankings, because it's still pretty undeveloped here, and I'm trying to help everyone learn the metagame and get fresh with it. And it also always helps to kind of jog my own memory and get more familiar with it myself too. Learning new things, getting new ideas. I mean, just going through my post, I'm like, oh, this matchup with this, or this is a cool option. I'm like writing down notes myself and like things I could use to improve my own game, which is it's a mutually beneficial experience, right. But and by the time I get that done, it's been like another 2-3 hours, and on top of that, I gotta make me dinner. I gotta do my laundry that night too, and it's like by the time I'm done with all that, then I gotta work on some stuff with the council because we might have a suspect coming up that I might have to be writing up. Maybe something like that. I mean, I can't spot. Maybe there's a Pheromosa stuff. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe there's a totally different stuff. Maybe there's a Blissey. I don't know. There might be a suspect happening though. Who knows? But another couple hours working on that, and it's like, damn, like Pokemon. All of a sudden, that's my second job. Like, it's like, oh damn, I just spent another like 6-7 hours on this after working for 8 hours. And it's just like, damn. And now it's like 2 a.m. again. Like, I gotta wake up at 7 a.m. for like actual work again the next day. It's like, okay, little much, little overwhelmed. So I'm just trying to, I think a lot of you guys, how when you're like listening to music on Spotify and just like in your room alone, you're just kind of like dancing around, like doing your thing, just kind of crazy. I mean, you could be doing jazz hands, you could be like dancing around like a spaz, like I do, little jerky movements or, whatever. Or, you're just like browsing the internet, like just fucking around. Like for me, I love looking like at baseball stats, but for other people who are maybe less obsessed with baseball or less dorky, you're just watching random clips on YouTube or TikTok, you're dicking around, scrolling through the Twitter feed, that kind of stuff. You could spend 5 or 10 minutes here and there, and it doesn't really add up because you can still be productive otherwise, or at least hopefully pretend to be while you procrastinate. And like that stuff, like I noticed now that I've taken advantage of that like so damn much, because like shit, like it just ain't there anymore. I didn't have that time for like a couple days, and I've kind of finally built myself up and got enough done this week to where I have that time now, thankfully. But damn, when you don't have downtime, it's crazy how like fast life comes at you and how you feel so productive, but you're also so drained. So I've just been kind of all over the place. It's been hitting hard, but nah, I'm still loving these videos. So we went through the top 10 and the offensive state of the metagame. So I'm gonna make something up on the spot. We're gonna go for 3 Pokemon that see too little usage in the metagame, and 3 Pokemon that see too much usage in the eyes of Finch, in my eyes. I don't know why I referred to myself in third person. Like, what the fuck am I trying to do? I'm not some big enigmatic figure. I'm just a random YouTuber that's got like under 6K subscribers. But nah, hold on. Okay, so 3 Pokemon that don't see enough usage. All right. Garchomp is a big one I alluded to before. Garchomp should absolutely be seeing more usage. The Sword Dance Life Orb set, in my opinion, is even more threatening than offensive Landorus-T sets. You get Stone Edge, Earthquake. Well, okay, you always run Earthquake and Sword Dance, obviously. Then you run 2 of Stone Edge, Scale Shot, Poison Jab, Stealth Rock, Fire Fang is kind of fringe. So 2 of those 5. And you don't really miss out a ton no matter what you pick in terms of those. I mean, it's really cool for Stone Edge at +2 to just completely obliterate things like Zapdos, and Mandibuzz also getting 1 shot, and Moltres was cool too, of course. And then Scale Shot, boosting the speed, super helpful. It hits so hard, and also defensively, like it's able to take advantage of things like Pex, especially in your Misty Terrain, which I use on non-Scale Shot sets a ton, and Heatran, Moltres you sit on, and it goes such a long way. And in my eyes, Garchomp, it has a great kind of bulky offensive feel to it, and that it's able to take advantage of things both offensively and in a way defensively as well with the right support. And all in all, it's almost always able to carry its own weight, be it through getting a Brock, do some damage, or getting multiple kills. And I love how it has that effect in the metagame. Yeah, we do see some things like Futurist teleport Slowbro into a Revenge Killer, but Slowbro doesn't want to take a +2 Earthquake, and it's going to do like 80, 85 to it, and it can't kill back, so it's got to just teleport out and get Revenge killed. Like Garchomp get Revenge killed, and Garchomp can just switch out of that. So yeah, it's still not a great position for those teams. And then of course Buzzwole checks it, that's important. Skarmory, but you don't even see Skarmory in this list. So yeah, I mean, Chomp is just a real menace to society right now in my eyes, and I think it's great. And even Stealth Rock sets in general are pretty good. I think his world's better than something like Swampert, for example, at 16. So yeah, another thing that sees too little usage, in my opinion, is Slowbro. In my eyes, it should be a top 15 Pokemon. Future Sight plus Teleport, enabling things like Pheromosa, Urshifu, Cinderace, which you see at number 12. Even the aforementioned Garchomp and Landorus-T. It's so good. It really makes it so that normal counterplay lines, like things like Buzzwole, Tangrowth, Amoonguss, those guys. Toxapex, of course, being the biggest one of them all, perhaps. Even putting Clefable into a kill range from some neutral or resistant attacks. They're no longer possible. And all of a sudden, you got to play around everything with like another Dark type in mind or another Psychic resistant mind. That's not always possible when dealing with the onslaught of offensive presence that these physical attackers have. So those cores are great. And also, Slowbro itself is a good bulky offensive pivot against things like Heatran, Landorus-T, Garchomp. As I mentioned before, Cinderace, Melmetal, yeah, a ton of Excadrill right below it. You see, so it definitely should be higher than 21 in my eyes. I mean, I think it's just as good as something like Finny or Rillaboom, for instance. And then one other Pokemon that I think still sees too little usage in the metagame right now is going to be Tornadus-T. I mean, it hasn't like caught on. The Nasty Spot set isn't all the way there yet, especially because it's super reliant on inaccurate moves. And utility sets are solid, but they aren't seen as like amazing. But I mean, Regenerator plus Boots, it opens up so many possibilities. Getting all those knocks off, getting all the chances to Hurricane DP stuff, potential defog. All in all, Tornadus-T is just so durable for a fast Pokemon that's a pivot when compared to things even like Roost on Kopogo as a pivot with Boots, or when compared to Dragapult with U-Turn. It just outlasts them so much, and it provides more defensively. Yeah, it's not as potent directly offensively, but all in all, I think it should absolutely be in the top, 20, 25 in usage. It's sitting at 27 right now, so I definitely think it should go up a tier, if you will. So those are 3 Pokemon I think see too little usage. Perhaps it's more subject of just the ladder being a little behind the metagame, or perhaps it's more subject of people being too scared of specific top events. For example, Zapdos and Heatran do really well against Underutilized potentially. They're in the top 10. As for Garchomp, you see a lot of Clefable, and you see Landorus-T. Clefable can potentially check it, especially if it's not a Life Orb, and Landorus-T can be a competing Pokemon, a ground type, and you don't always want to fit both of them on the team, so it's definitely harder for it to use it. Okay, I get it. As for Slowbro, not everyone's caught on the Future Sight wave yet, so I get that, but also you see other water types like Pert, Finny, Pelipper, which really shouldn't be in the top 20 in my eyes, we'll get to that in a minute, and Pex all out there. It's like, damn. So you gotta be careful of that as well. There's definitely some reasons as to why these Pokemon aren't seeing enough usage, but they still should see more, in my personal opinion. So that's pretty big. Next up, we have 3 Pokemon that I view probably see a little too much usage, in my personal opinion. Landorus-T is the big one, and is far and away tops not only this usage list, but also my list of Pokemon that see too much usage. So the thing with Landorus-T is that, it gets Intimidate, and it has a lot of different viable niches, but truth be told, it's not actually that threatening offensively unless you're running a super offensive set. And if you're running a super offensive set, you're not really checking things defensively. You lose that ability to check Cinderace more than once. Garchomp in general, you can't really switch into Melmetal regardless, but that makes it even harder. Switching into Extra, you can only really do once. Dazzling Gleam from Coco, if you don't run HP, is going to do a lot. You get one shot by Ice Beam for Tyranitar without HP investment. Kartana can 2-KO you, etc. it gets out of hand real quickly. So, needless to say, Landorus-T's offensive sets are great, but it's a trade-off. You don't get the best of both worlds. And the defensive sets, you manhandle them with your Zapdos, your Mandibuzz, your Moltres if it's not Stone Edge, although you gotta watch out for knockoff anyway. Your Tornadus-T's even of the world. And it can still pimp around, it can be good, but there's no one set of Landorus-T right now that's like, oh dang, this is really good. Last generation, there were at times Z sets that did that, and Scarf sets that did that. And Scarf Landorus-T is still really good right now. Don't get me wrong at all, it's still real great, but I don't think it has that quality to it. And truth be told, the myriad of sets it can use, be it the slow Stealth Rocker with, Toxic Protector, Knockoff U-Turn, or whatever it might be, or the Strong Swords Dance set that we just alluded to, potentially, or the Scarf set, which of course is a classic and still a good Pokemon. It provides that electric immunity as well, ground immunity too, even Intimidate, Pivot, whatnot. All those sets are good, but none of them overall are great. And no, I definitely think it's a top 7 to 10 Pokemon usage-wise, and a top 10 to 15 Pokemon viability-wise in the metagame, which was reflected in the viability ranking. It's funny, because I was actually more high on it than some others, and it ended up in A rank, and everyone's like, yo, that's too low, but, think about it for a minute. What Landorus-T is good at right now is basically roll compression, in that it's Intimidate, so it kind of blanket checks physical attackers, it gives you a ground immunity, and it gives you an electric immunity. But then you realize, what do those actually mean? If it's not really matching up too well with ground types, which, okay, it checks itself, sure, but if you're running a more offensive set, then you're not going to really be able to deal with Garchomp. If you're running a more defensive set, then you might not even be able to pressure Garchomp super well, and mix Garchomp strategy regardless. Pert, obviously you don't deal with Pert too well. Nidoking, if you're a slow set, then you're getting outran and one-shot by it, and if you're a fast set, well, you can't switch in, but you can at least Revenge Kill it. And X-Drill, again, the defensive sets handle X-Drill very well, actually, but offensively, you're not going to deal with it, and also you got to be scared of more people running Toxic on Drill. So it's like, okay, ground immune. So it's able to check one ground type maybe once or twice tops in the game at best. But if it's not defensive versus Drill, then it's going to struggle versus housing ground type. So ground immune, it's good for itself, but that's about it. As for the electric immune, okay, you do really well against Regieleki, and if you're a defensive set with HP and Vs, you can even check Coco multiple times. That's cool. But I don't see why something like Pert or Nidoking can not do that either. They can. Drill, same with Drill. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, all of them besides Chomp check Coco too. And Chomp, the fact of the matter is it can live a hit from Coco regardless if it's not specs, and also you usually pair Chomp with the grass type, so it kind of fixes its issue itself. And obviously Chomp deals with Regieleki, so you're like, damn, all of a sudden I'm noticing that Chomp is faster, and Chomp is more likely to run Life Orb, and also on top of that, Chomp is able to check things that aren't just electric types. For example, it's able to check Heatran. It's able to check Moltres. Able to run a Rocky Helmet set that also checks the same exact physical attackers, but also, throw in a couple other that mix as well. And all of a sudden you're like, yo, that's kind of crazy what it can do, how Chomp is a bit more progress-oriented. And my center trade Chomp is outright better than Landorus-T, but no, rather, I think the gap is much, much slimmer than 1 versus 15, or, 28% usage versus 12 or 13% usage. I think it's more, it should be Landorus-T, 20 or 22%, and Garchomp, 19 to 21%. They should be neck and neck. They should both be fringe top 10 Pokemon in my eyes. And Landorus-T is more splashable because it provides that electric immunity, it provides that ground immunity, and a lot of people kind of simplify team building down to things like that. But if you look at the nuances and you look at how effective it is in practice, and this is why Landorus-T's win rates in, say, tournaments or whenever you take a large sample ends up being below 50%, because there's a proper way to build with Landorus-T. And proper Landorus-T teams can excel, but a lot of people are just like, yo, I'm going to slap it out of these teams, and I'm going to have all of my like immunities and resistances covered here. But in reality, in practice, Pokemon is not that linear. It's not. So if you build with Landorus-T, like, oh, I'm good against physical attackers, and all of a sudden you face a team with like a Swords Dance Drill plus, say, another strong, Cinderace or Melmetal, and you're like, oh, damn, I can check one of them, but then all of a sudden the next one becomes a super big problem next time it comes in safely. Which it's not good, because you got to have more in practice. You got to be more durable in practice. Sometimes, you kind of got to be double deep against some of these Pokemon. And Garchomp doesn't like impede on that. It doesn't have that artificial sense of checking it. It actually does check things like Heatran, for example, right? But you're still always going to pack another fire resist at the minimum. And you kind of naturally have that sense of double packing for those Pokemon, if you will. But with Landorus-T, like, no, I got the ground immunity check. I got the electric immunity check. And, I think Landorus-T would actually be better if it saw less usage, because then people would back off a little bit and start using it actually properly, which is crazy. And I think that actually happened last generation, because people like overhyping it like day one, right. Oh, Z-move Landorus-T, it's gotta be busted. But then it ended up like peaking like 6 months later, and then people were saying it was broken. And I don't even think it was broken, but at least there was more like logic to those claims when people actually started really using the right Z-move sets. The Swords Dance Rockium set, for example, on the Landorus-T, which is super strong, or the Flyinium with Stealth Rock, which demolished everything, and so on and so forth. And the fact of the matter is that, I feel like Landorus-T is always going to end up shooting up to the usage stats just because it covers so many things in that checklist, but you got to keep in mind what it does more in practice. And in conclusion, Landorus-T is an absolutely amazing Pokemon. But is it better than Clefable right now? Or Pheromosa right now? I don't think so, no. But is it something that you could use on a ton of teams? Yes, but you got to be careful. You got to be cautious, All of a sudden you're like, oh, Landorus-T is my electric check, but I'm facing a Hurricane Zapdos. What the hell am I going to do? Run for the hills or dodge all the Hurricanes because you're shit out of luck. Oh, all of a sudden I'm facing Life Orb Garchomp. How am I going to check it? My Landorus-T just took a single hit from an Extrio. No, I don't know what to do, man. You can't rely on it to just check things. You got to look at the Pokemon when you're team building. For example, you got to make sure, oh, I have a Fairy Resist in, say, Kartana. That's great. But no, Kartana's not actually living Moonblast. That's crazy. So you're like, oh, I got Kartana. That's great. But I also might want to throw a Heatran or an Extra on this team as well to make sure that I have, actual checks to Clefable, for example. And just kind of practical team building like that, you got to think it through. And sometimes it is that simple. Like Kartana's not a specially defensive Pokemon. Sometimes it's a bit more linear. Landorus-T doesn't have recovery besides potentially leftovers, and sometimes it can be paired with Protect, but that's uncommon. And all of a sudden you're like, wait, I'm using it to check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever million Pokemon that I want to use. It's physical Pokemon that I need to check. It's like, Landorus can't actually check more than one of them, because it's going to be worn out a ton by it, and sometimes that trade makes it worthwhile. And you could argue that that trade alone makes Landorus-T that good, the fact that it's forcing that, but then you also have to realize that you're structuring your team around Landorus-T covering too much. So, in conclusion, Landorus-T is great. Use Landorus-T, but make sure you're also checking things, not applying lazy team building, because I feel like some people are using lazy team building right now, and I think this is definitely a rant that needed to happen, because I get PMs on PS and on Discord all the time with people asking me to rate teams, and I always love responding to those PMs because they're people I'm trying to help out, and I can really let them understand the metagame, and I can also see their ideas, and that helps me get better at the metagame, even if it's just someone that's new, looking here for the first time. Like, it's kind of seeing someone's approach to solving a Rubik's Cube for the first time, and you see how they go about, solving one side of that Rubik's Cube, and it's really cool getting that idea, that mannerism, that thought process ingrained in your own head, because then you start looking at it that way, and you gain your own new strategies. And I think that's amazing. It's helped me branch out as a player a ton. It's helped me come up with new ideas. Like, for example, that sample team, the rain team with the Weather Ball Tornadus-T, I got that idea off someone else using it on a ladder. And then, Scale Shot, Garchomp's always a cool Pokemon. I can throw Aqua Tail on it because it's using rain. These are ideas that, you kind of, see one perspective and you're like, oh, I could glow off of it. And in a way, creating your own content, creating your own ideas, obviously is amazing too. But when other people give you ideas, using them as well, there's no shame in it as well either. Because sets are there to be used after all. And that's really cool. So, in conclusion, I just went on a million-minute tangent on why Landorus-T is so super great in the metagame, but probably shouldn't be at number 1 quite yet. And in addition to that, while team building with Landorus-T is very rewarding, you definitely have to be careful when doing it, because it can't always check every single ground type, every single electric type, for example. So I hope that cleared things up a little bit, but I definitely view Landorus-T as overutilized, used too much, obviously it's OU, but utilized too much compared to where it should be. Just a little bit. So yeah, next stuff, of those three Pokemon I was going through, didn't see too much usage. I guess I kind of went off the walls on it, but in my opinion, I don't think that, I don't think Pelipper should be top 20. I just don't. Seeing Rain see more usage than Sand right now is kind of laughable. Although if you combine the Hippowdon usage, it makes it so the two Sand Centers are above Rain, but even that, it should be Tyranitar definitely should be above Pelipper right now. Rain itself is decent. It's pretty good, but it still definitely finds itself struggling with things. A lot of range are going to struggle with Toxic right now. It's very common right now, for example. Switching into Shockwave Pheromosa is impossible for Rains, for example. I mean, even switching into things like Urshifu and Spectre is really troublesome. And when teams have those Pokemon plus a bulkier backbone, aka standard balance teams, are actually going to struggle with it. Not to mention opposing weather can completely derail Rain too. And for all the upside it has, it also has a lot of downside. And it's a net positive proposition. It's a 7 out of 10 archetype, for example. But that 7 out of 10, when a 3 out of 10 is something that's almost insurmountable, it's crazy. You really got to be careful there. And it's not even a slam dunk when you get the right matchup either, necessarily, depending on if it's an offensive team or if there's some bulk there or whatnot, etc. So, yeah, all in all, I think Pelipper is good. I think Rain is good, but I don't think it's top 20 good. I think it's more, the outskirts of the top 25 to closer to mid-top 30-ish. So, yeah, I think that Pelipper and Rain in general is just a little too much usage ladder. And finally, the last Pokemon that I personally, emphasis on personally, because you guys can totally feel differently, believe sees too much usage in SSOU. Drum roll, please. You good? Okay, yeah. And then the Pokemon is going to be Melmetal. And this is going to be a super out there, super wild take because everyone loves Melmetal and I love Melmetal. But look at the top 10 right now. You'll notice that there are 3 of only one type of Pokemon. That's Steel. You see Ferrothorn, you see Heatran, you see Magearna. Okay. Now branch even further out. You see Drill in the top 22. You see, say, Kartana, although not really a defensive Steel type, but yeah. And also Corviknight in the top 33. And you notice there's a ton of stiff competition among Steel types. And the fact of the matter is that a Metal can work with another Steel type here and there. But it's hard because it faces a lot of things that overlap in the niche it does. For example, the standard Double Iron Bash, Earthquake, and either Toxic or Ice Puncher, Rock Slider, Superpower, plus Protect, a metal with Max Attack Adamant and Special Defense EVs, it checks Pokemon like Heatran and Magearna check too, even Ferrothorn potentially as well. It does deal a lot more damage, but it also has some other downsides. It's much slower. And on top of that, it also has a bit less natural special bulk, so it's got to invest a ton more and so on and so forth. Even then, it might not be enough. So it's really crazy. I feel like Melmetal actually is shifting towards being used more offensively despite having a nice defensive role just because the defensive role faces a ton of overlap. And then you see it on things like Trick Room with a Choice Band set or on teams with Paralysis Support plus Teleport with a Choice Band set. And in a way, I think that should be trending up more. And I think that should be seeing more usage despite Melmetal as a whole seeing less usage. But we're seeing it instead misused, used on teams that it doesn't really fit, or used to cover so many things while running a Choice Band set or a Special Defensive set without another Steel type. And it kind of gets overwhelmed. And you kind of want to use other things. It's just hard because the metagame mandates usage of things like Heatran for Magearna, or say for a specific, Toxic, switching into that and whatnot, and Will-O-Wisp, being able to absorb those statuses, and also on top of that, being able to take advantage of Pokemon like Pacus and Clefable, risking to trap them, and so on and so forth. And Melmetal can do none of that. It can't, not to the same extent, and that's unfortunate. And I still think it's weird because I think Melmetal is a top 10 Pokemon in terms of sheer viability, but in terms of usage, I think it should be less. And here's why. When Melmetal is used and fits on the right team, it's magnificent. It does super well, but the amount of teams it can actually fit onto is more limited than a Pokemon that's, top 13 good, unfortunately, in terms of usage. And that's why usage and viability are different. Because viability not only ranks how things are used and how common they are, but also ranks how effective they are when they're used and why they're effective, how many teams they truly fit onto. And it's more of a spectrum of different characteristics, whereas usage is just one characteristic, how much something is used. So I think that's also a really important debate. And I know this video is mad, psychological. Why did I say psychological? I meant philosophical. Wow, I'm losing it. I'm losing the marbles up there. Holy crap. But nah, I feel like Melmetal just it suffered a little bit. It's facing a ton of stiff competition, and I think it probably should be more 16 through 20 as opposed to 11 through 15 right now, which is a very small drop. Honorable mention also, by the way, Goes to Tapu Koko, which I'm just not super fond of right now either. I was considering using it over Melmetal, but nah, I think that Melmetal is a bit more high profile right now. So yeah. Now let's go through. Went through the top 10 already. Besides the defensive Pokemon, Fables at 2 is kind of really great status absorber. Checks out the fighting types like Pheromosa and Urshifu number 3 and 4 respectively, and can set up rocks or Combine, which is pretty solid. Pex and Pharaoh. Pharaoh is actually really good right now. It takes advantage of all the bulky Pokemon like Clef and Pex, and you go down the list, Finny, Manaba, etc. Sets up spikes or leech recovers and whatnot. Never really dies, so it's great at punching those Pokemon, which is cool. Pex is there, Regenerator. It soft checks a ton of Pokemon. Doesn't actually counter much. I mean, look at it. Landorus-T, can't counter. Pheromosa, you can counter to that, but you gotta be scared of Shockwave. Or Shifu, a lot of times you pivot into it and soft check it, but Wicked Blow Kitukia, you gotta watch out. Magearna, you switch into Stabs, but if it gets destroyed power up or Specs Volt Switch, you gotta watch out. Heatran, you're good against Lava Plume sets, but you gotta watch out for Magma Storm because it completely traps you. Spectre, you could Scout Choice sets, but you gotta watch out for Nasty Play. You notice a trend here? There are a lot of Pokemon that it has to watch out for things. That's because the metagame is kind of evolving around, beating Pex more and more over the last months, and DLC 2 did not miss a beat about that. There are a lot of sets you're able to lure or use Tox Specs, and that's kind of what's keeping it away from being, top 2 or 3 Pokemon like it used to be, and more close, being in the middle to the latter end of the top 10, which I think is good. I definitely don't want to see Tox Specs any higher up than this, so yeah, I'm definitely fond of that, and Zapdos is just a great defogger. I like offensive sets a ton, but defensive sets, static, and obviously very good as well. So yeah, but anyway, 11 through 15, we got Finny, Cinderace, Melmetal, Rillaboom, and Garchomp. As for Finny, I think it's good, but not like super great. Combine sets are underrated in my eyes, and also Trick Scarf on Hyper Offense is pretty cool. I don't love the general defog sets though, like the defensive defog set that kind of just sits there. I actually think it makes it accomplished. I think it's crappy short-term check this things as well, so I'm not huge on that. Actually, I think I'll go through the top 20 one by one. So I'll go through 11 through 20, all individual Pokemon. And it'll be a bit more brief for 21 through 30, and then I'll kind of just list the 31 through 40. Especially Zygarde. Like Zygarde's not relevant because it's not OU anymore. It got banned. But anyway, back to number 12, Cinderace. Obviously a very strong physical attacker. Pivot sets or even bulk up sets. It's got nice coverage, Power Ball, and U-turn / bulk up again. Bulk up only for the bulk up set. Obviously there. Then you pick 2 of High Jump Kick, Sucker Punch, and Gunk Shot. Personally, I like High Jump Kick plus Sucker Punch. I'm Adamant, and I like either Gunk Shot or Zen Headbutt in the last slot. I forgot to mention Zen Headbutt for packs, of course. Yeah, no. Jolly, but the thing is that if you pair it with a Slowbro, you don't actually need Zen Headbutt, which is super cool. So you can kind of toy around with that and make your own kind of smart informed decision, if you will. Anyway, sorry, just had a sip of water there. As for Melmetal, we kind of discussed it already, but I can run choice band sets, which is actually Basher in this metagame, don't get me wrong, but a lot of things keep it in check, and a lot of things punish it, and also it definitely faces some stiff competition among roles and fitting on the team. So all in all, I think it's a little overrated right now, but I still think it's a really good Pokemon. Next up, we have Rillaboom. Rillaboom is just super amazing. Grassy Train's great. Choice band sets are hit super strong, even with resistant moves, for example. And it's a great pivot. It's a good team supporter as well with the Grassy Train and all that. And all in all, I really like it right now. Same set mix as before. Garchomp, something we discussed before as well. I actually don't want to make this like a Garchomp rave video. I love Garchomp. Sword Dance, Life Form sets are amazing. The Stealth Rock sets or even Rock Helmet sets are fine. Mixed is super good too. Can't go wrong with Garchomp right now. Pert, I'm a bit lower on, unfortunately. I feel like it kind of found itself in a crossroads where it doesn't distinct itself a ton when compared to the other potential ground types, especially with how bulky Landorus-T and Tank Chomp can be. Flip Turn does give it momentum, and it does have the ability to check Heatran like Garchomp, which Landorus-T can't do, whereas Garchomp can't generate momentum. It has both those things going for it on turn. Not only does it not have recovery, but also it's slower and it's weaker, and it also is now 4 times weak to grass. So definitely some big trade-offs there. On the right team, it can work. It's still a top 25 to 30 Pokemon in my eyes, but it's definitely kind of struggling to stay here. You saw it was number 12 last time, and now it fell to number 16, whereas Garchomp wasn't top 15 last time, and now it's in the top 15. Kind of a switch in the roles there, and I think they're both going to see trends, whereas Garchomp goes up, or maybe just stays the same, whereas Pert's definitely going to go down a little bit, probably falling out of the top 20 eventually. So yeah. Next up, we have Moltres. Moltres is a solid defogger with Flame Body, Heavy Duty Boots, Defog, Mystical Fire, Flamethrower, Scorching Sands, or I guess Hurricane technically, and Roost. Does really well against Pheromosa, especially non-Shockwave variants. It can counter Heatran if it's running Scorching Sands. Does well against non-Gunk Shot Cinderace. Metal it can do well against. Rillaboom can do well against, could even potentially check a non-Rock Slide Drill. and pretty much all Buzzwole. Though just watch out for Toxic, of course. Kartana does good against too. So yeah, a lot of good matches from Moltres right now. It's an underrated and kind of anti-metagame threat, and seeing it rise into the top 20 is pretty good in my opinion. Especially as basically like the second most common, I guess third most common Defogger. Ahead of Mandibuzz though, and that's important because if you notice the top 17 Pokemon all have something in common. They don't actually have any way of really like countering Spectre. Yeah, Urshifu S resisted. I know it's technically Ghost Resist, so I can't say that, but none of them really like are able to do that. And now all of a sudden at 18 you get Mandibuzz, which can at least play a role in doing that. Although it's got to watch out for the sub nasty plot set with Wisp, so or even the stable sets, I guess. So yeah, you gotta be careful there. But I mean, we've seen people tech out like Taunt and Whirlwind out of their Mandibuzz. And I kind of respect the grind, I'm not going to lie, I really do. So that's dope. But nah, I mean, Mandibuzz is good. You just got to not compress it too much. You don't want to check in Ground and Spectre and getting off the Fog and being resisted this, that, and other thing. You'd rather limit it to one or two things and then kind of spread it to the team and really specialize on making sure you have the right checks and counters to things as opposed to really spreading it thin. And that's why it works more in balanced teams that can afford to fit those than both the offensive teams and also arguably why you see it below things like Zapdos, which are more splashable as Defoggers. So yeah. Then we got Pelipper, 19, again, just rain teams. It's pretty much there solely for setting up rain, drizzle for rain teams. You can pivot, run to fog, Scald or Hurricane, etc. We tend to see the Damp Rock set much, much more than we see the Choice Spec set. So yeah, and rounding at the top 20 in the Pokemon I'm going to give serious analysis to, we get Nidoking, an absolutely potent breaker on the special end of the spectrum. You notice that every single Pokemon on this list besides Blissey has one thing in common. That's right, every single one of them, and that is the fact that the standard 4 attack, Sludge Wave, Earth Power, Ice Beam, Flamethrower, Nidoking can 2KO it with one of those moves, if not multiple of those moves. And a lot of them get one-shotted. I mean, of the top 10 alone, everything can get one-shotted besides Zapdos. And Urshifu's a roll through Stealth Rocks. Actually, okay, everything besides Zapdos and Spectre, yeah. Everything the top 5 can get one-shotted after hazards. Everything the top 7 can, actually. Yeah, no, damn, that's crazy. And then Heatran does as well. So yeah, that just goes without saying. I mean, obviously, everything's in danger against it. The issue is that it's pretty fragile, so it's got to find its spots. It pairs nicely with Teleport though, and being able to be immune to Electric and counter things like Coco and Regieleki can go a long way for it. But yeah, that's the top 20. I'm glad we got to go into some detail against that. But then we have Slowbro, Drill, Tyranitar, Blissey, Tapu Koko on the next 5. Slowbro, great pivot with Teleport, Future Sight plus Teleport, great strategy with some of the big breakers in the physical end that I've alluded to before. Drill, it's good on sand teams, of course, but also just being electric immunity with the potential to spin. Yeah, it's unsurprising that it's ranked right next to Tar, but being a little above it because it has some other options, both offensively and defensively, is unsurprising to me. Speaking of Tyranitar, yeah, it's right there at 23 for sand teams, being a nice, especially defensive behemoth, checking things like Spectrier, really being able to stomach the just from that. Even, of course, do really well against Moltres and Volcarona, and even Heatran, other fire types in general. So yeah, that goes a long way. And it does decently at deterring Psychic from Tapu Lele. Future Sight can potentially be thwarted by it. And also Dragapult you can check too. So yeah, it goes a long way, but still Tyranitar doesn't actually counter a ton of Pokemon, more just checks them in a short haul. But Spectre, it can counter, especially with the rest set, so that's cool at least. Blissey, it's just a special defensive pivot or a rock setter. It depends on what move you want to use. I think Teleport's the best set for it. It's able to really reset momentum a ton of times, and all in all, it also really invalidates some special attackers. So it's a great option on bulkier balance teams, I'd say. And then rounding out the top 25 is Tapu Koko. Pokemon I'm not too high on right now, but with set with Thunderbolt, Dazzling Gleam, Roost, U-Turn with Heavy Duty Boots, I think it's pretty solid. It definitely isn't the strongest Pokemon besides the Electric Stab, but it can do its damage, pick its spots. It's not as one-dimensional as Regieleki, which goes a long way, especially even as the Fairy typing is a little bulkier. It does lose out in some power, but you're fine with that all in all. Next up, we have Buzzwole, Tornadus-T, Latios, Urshifu Single, and Dragapult. So Buzzwole, still hanging on in the top 30 is cool. It does well against Physical Pheromosa, Urshifu S, Landorus-T, non-mixed Garchomp, Rillaboom, Melmetal, Excadrill, and oh damn, this is like every physical Pokemon I use, what the hell, why doesn't it use more? And you're like, wait a minute, Future Sight is so common, so it can actually beat those Pokemon when paired with that. In addition, we see things like Toxic Melmetal, Toxic Excadrill, Special Pheromosa, mixed Garchomp, all of a sudden all over the place. And it's like, well, all of a sudden, not only with Kieran Black and Zygarde being banned, 2 Pokemon countered, makes it less useful, but then all of a sudden a lot of things are adapting to it and the other metagame surroundings, and it's not friendly to Buzzwole itself. So that's rough for Rambo, aka Buzzwole. Rambo is the real name of the Pokemon for what it's worth. But yeah, no, it's not great. To say the least. Tornadus-T, again, a Pokemon that I believe sees too little usage, more usage. I get it, face competition as Defogger by Zapdos and Moltres, and even Mandibuzz. I get it, Nasty Spot sets rely on inaccurate moves like potentially Hurricane, Focus Blast, even Heat Wave, so yeah, but all in all, it has a ton of options. It is a very vast move pool. The Regenerator plus Boots is super free with that much speed, and I think you can do it, make a ton of progress in games with even defensive like sets, but also with offensive ones, and stay alive basically forever. So yeah, bird's the word after all, I guess. Man, I miss being able to like just sit down and watch Family Guy and just laugh my ass off when I was younger. Before I kind of get that show kind of got old for me. I was never like diehard Family Guy fan, and I know I'm like randomly talking about it. For those of you who don't know, bird is a word is like originated, I guess, kind of in Family Guy, and people like applied it to like bird Pokemon like Landorus-T before. So yeah, but damn, I feel old now. I mean, I'm 22 now. That was when I was like a child when that Bird in the Word episode came out. It was funny, but nah. No more time for tangents. We got to finish out this top 30. Latios, Choice Specs, Nuke. It unfortunately is more prediction reliant, as a lot of things can be immune or resistant to Dragon. For example, Fire types, or Psychic, for example, Dark types. And therefore, you can use a Trick and your coverage move or moves a lot of the time. And you just got to be careful with Latios. It's not the same as, say, Generation 5 when it can just spam Draco Meteor, and always be sure to at least ship something significantly. Shifu Rapid, while you mainly see it on Rain, you can see Choice Banded and a Protected Pet set on other teams as well. I do think it serves itself best on Rain, though. Rain boosting it, so the only things like Toxapex can really keep it in check. Overall, it's super strong, and I definitely would advise trying it out in the metagame right now if you can find the right team. Also pairs nicely with Future Sight from Slowbro, too. Double Water Core isn't the most in the world either, because neither of them actually checks things like Feature, and so having both of them there just really kind of plays soft check buddies. It goes a long way, if you will, because then kind of having multiple checks like that are situational can lead to having enough to counter it without running it out with a counter, so that's cool. And finally, Dragapult, the Pokemon that in my eyes is a little underrated as well. Rounds it to top 30. It's a ghost type. It's a really fast pivot with Infiltrator, Conventional Spectre as well. And it's still pretty threatening. I mean, again, a lot of Pokemon don't resist ghosts, so this is Spectre. All of a sudden, that still applies to Dragapult's Hex too. And it's crazy because pivot sets and spec sets are pretty solid right now. So I would personally advise trying that out too. Anyway, rounding out the Pokemon into usage, Barraskewda, just a range staple. Corviknight, kind of dying breed, but the fogging sets are okay. I think Bulk Up actually is really underrated right now with pressure, so that's cool. Kartana, a Pokemon I'm really high on. Life Orb Swords Dance sets it like a truck. I don't love the Bandit or Scarf sets, though, truth be told. Hydreigon hanging on to OU usage just barely. The Fog sets are solid. Check Heatran, check Spectre, if you got the right moves and all that. Tapu Lele, finally the nuke is back. It isn't as strong as last generation, and it never got expanding force, unfortunately, but it still hits pretty damn hard. It's still a solid option right now. Wish it was a little quicker, a little more bulky on the physical end, but it can do without that for now. Hippowdon clinging on to OU usage is cool. Another electric immunity, rock setter, sand inducer, so yeah, it does a lot there. Regileaky's pretty much only used at a serious level with the screen set. More especially offensive sets just aren't worth tinkering with at the moment just because the ground type's on every single team and it can't do anything that. Yeah, I think the surprise for many people seeing Slowking Galar here, but look at it. The Assault Vest 4 attack set does not need full bulk. You can actually run max special attack, and with Sludge Bomb plus Future Sight plus Scalder Hydro Pump plus Flamethrower, it hits everything besides like Blissey and maybe like special defensive Tar and Gastrodon. But damn, it's so strong. Like with that coverage, it's super effective for Answer. It feels like my man like needs an expert belt. But now you run to a vest and able to check things like Quiver Dance Faramosa and virtually any Magearna. And it's really nice to have that bulk plus offensive presence combination with Regenerator on a Sophos Pokemon like that. So it goes without saying that it's kind of underrated right now, but I still think it's quite good. And while it doesn't have Teleport or the ability to run with an Assault Vest for that matter, like the other like Slowbro and even Slowking, which in my opinion should also be OU sets, it's still really great, and I definitely advise using it in your bulky offensive team. And finally, rounding out top 40, rest in peace, Zygarde 39, we also have Dragonite, which a nice bulky Dragon Dance sleeper with multi-scale plus boots, that goes a long way. And Maya gets a lot of setup opportunities and also can be pretty strong with dual wing beat, Earthquake, Fire Punch types, and extreme speed depends on your revenge kill things too. So yeah, I think Dragonite's definitely an underrated option right now. I'm glad to see it finally soaring up to OUV usage, and I hope it stays here. Let me know your thoughts on usage stats. Let me know your thoughts on Pokemon I said I thought were used a little too little, and used a little too much. And I mean, obviously I went some tangents here, a lot of stuff to unpack, so that'll be fun. This was a pretty crazy video. Damn. We went in, guys, and that was fun. We got a nice little 40-minute video just going through what's good, what's not good, what's seen the usage, the whole metagame. So this was the viability rankings. Y'all wanted the OU content for the new metagame. Y'all got it. I'll hopefully branch out, maybe do some lives, maybe play some other tiers in the channel soon. Looking forward to making myself a little more versatile in the coming days as well. So if you guys want to see anything in particular, let me know in the comments below. If you guys enjoyed the video, also be sure to like and say you enjoyed it in the comments. Dude, double up. Love the comments for the algorithm, guys. You know how I am. But nah, I also just want to engage with y'all. We got this nice community going. It's been that fun. I mean, shit, I've been so busy, but nah, being able to, I always make time to interact with this community and get the videos up, Y'all like family to me. So that's super cool. But nah, that's all I got. If you guys enjoyed this and you want to see more, subscribe to the damn channel. You know how it is. Only 60% of y'all subscribe that are watching this video. What the hell are the other 40% doing? Like the damn video and subscribe to the channel. Come on, it means a lot to me. I know you guys. I know. I see you reach for that button. Yeah, that's right. Click it. There you go. There you go. Now we're talking. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. But now, if you don't want to subscribe, you don't want to. But if you can, it'd be great. And if you guys want to be more in touch with me, I got the Twitter, I got the Discord server. Links will be below in the description. And have a great day, guys. Everyone stay safe, and I hope you all happy. Let's have a great week, guys. Peace out, and talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye.